Well, hello, accounting students. Sorry I couldn't be with you today, but I trust you're in good hands with our substitute, and we do thank the substitute for coming in today. I'm not sure who it is, but I'm sure it'll be fine. So anyway, you're going to be going through and learning some rules of debit and credit, which is the cornerstone of double entry accounting. So good luck, have fun, and I will look forward to seeing you upon my return. Hello, accounting students. We spent the last day looking at single entry accounting system and utilized a checkbook and recorded some transactions using that system. And so now we want to take a look at a double entry system and compare and contrast those two systems. And double entry accounting, of course, is what we will be spending the rest of our accounting time with. So what I thought we'd do is just take a look at some of the rules of double entry accounting, and there are a set of rules that you need to learn. And so we're just going to go through those today and then apply them to the single entry system that we used in Excel the other day. So first of all, these are rules that you just need to memorize. And they're the rules of debit and credit. And so whatever you think you've learned about debits and credits before, probably familiar with debit cards and credit cards. And there's actually an accounting reason why they're called that, and you will become aware of that here pretty soon. But what you need to know right now is that debit means left. Think of your left hand. It's the left side of an account, and credit is the right side. So debit, for now, means left, and credit means right. And so there are some rules that we need to follow. And so in double entry counting, for each debit, there must also be a credit. So if you debit account for $30, you have to credit another account for $30. So there must always be at least two entries, and there must always be at least one debit and at least one credit. Now, it's possible to have multiple debits, but the total amount must also equal the credit. So you could debit 3 accounts and only credit 1 account, but as long as all those debits add up to the total of the one credit, that would be okay, and that would follow the rules of double entry accounting. So debits must equal credits. So you can repeat that if you would like. Debits equals credits. Always must be. Okay, so the rules of debit and credit depend on the type of account. And so we've learned about assets, liabilities, and owner's equity from our study of the accounting equation. And so there are different rules depending on what type of account it is. So we're going to take a look at that right now. So first of all, let's look at assets. So here, this thing here, it looks like a shape of a T. And the name of that is a T. It's a T account. And the parts of the T account that we are dealing with here are, we have the title section, and then we have the left side and the right side. That's pretty simple. So the left side is also known as the debit side, and the right side is known as the credit side. For an asset account, it's also known, the left side is also known as the normal side, or the normal balance side. And the reason why it's the normal balance side is because it's the increase side of the account. The right side of the account, also known as the credit side, is the decrease side of the account. So to review, you have a title, and so later on, in fact, here in just a minute, we're going to go into Excel and do some practice transactions. This is just, of course, the classification, but this rule applies to all assets. We've worked with cash, office equipment, computer equipment, delivery trucks, tractors, whatever it happens to be. Any asset will follow these rules. If we increase that account, it's going to be a debit. If we decrease it, it's going to be a credit. So at this point, take a break, head over to Schoology, and find this Excel worksheet. And if you can't quite read that, I'll tell you, it's Excel T-Template 2016. Excel T-Template 2016. And go ahead and get that open and save that into your Dropbox. And we will go ahead and do some practice transactions as soon as you have that up and running. I've split my screen into two halves here. I've got my T-Template on one half, and then on the other side I've got some of the rules. And so you could go ahead and do that. You could bring your T template up to the right side or the left side, and then go ahead and have this video playing on the left side as we go through this. So if you want to pause again and get that taken care of, this would be the time to do that. And so once you have that done, let's first click on, notice there's multiple sheets. So let's go ahead and click on Rules of Asset Liability Owner's Equity, and I've got that there just abbreviated, Rules of A, L, and OE. And so what we'll do is go ahead and we'll key in those rules so that you'll have those as a reference, well, throughout the rest of this quarter. So first up, let's talk about assets. And this is the left side, this is the right side. This is the debit side and the credit side. This is the, we'll just go ahead and call it increase here, and then we'll put normal below that. And I did that because the normal balance of any account is always the increase side. So if it's the increase side, that's the normal balance, what it normally would be, what we would expect. And then the credit side here is the decrease side. Let's next take a look at liabilities, the rules of debit and credit for liabilities. So come back over to your T account here. And we'll go ahead and put in liabilities. And let's take a look at the rules of liabilities. We still have the left and the right side, so that stays the same. So we have a left side, and we have a right side. That's the same. We also have a debit side and a credit side. That stays the same. Left and right, that's what it means. But now things change. So with the liability, the left side is the decrease side of the account, and the right side, or the credit side, is the increase side. So that when we increase a liability, we credit the account. When we decrease a liability, we debit the account. Which side is the increase side? That's correct. It is the credit side, therefore that is the normal balance side. Normal balance side is the credit side. So you can see that the increase and decrease are the opposite of the assets. And then we can go ahead and do our owner's equity. And those rules are the same as the liabilities. Once again, left, right, debit side, credit side, decrease side, increase side, and normal. So there's our rules. And yes, the rules are the same. So notice, as you'll recall from our accounting equation, there's that equal sign. Assets equals liabilities plus owner's equity. And so the asset is to the left of the equal sign. Assets increase on the left side or the debit side. This is a way that you can remember this. Liabilities are on the right side of the equal sign. And therefore, we're going to increase on the right side, or the credit side. And so that's just a little way to remember that. If it's on the right side of the equal sign, increase it on the right side. The right side is the credit side. So that's a way to remember that. And if you learn where the increases are, well, you just have to know that the opposite is decrease. So that's a way to learn those to begin with. So next up, let's go see if we can do a couple practice transactions and how we would apply that. Here's one of the Excel worksheets we did several days ago, and when we were studying about assets and claims to assets and property claims and so on and so forth, and looking at assets and how assets were paid for. So let's look at this first one here, where the owner of this business, Jacob, deposited $30,000 into a business checking account. And when we did this, we realized that if we put money into the bank, we are going to have cash. And so we increased our cash by $30,000, and then we also made an entry over here to capital, $30,000. So we had two accounts affected. Let's go ahead and put these right underneath our assets. So we're going to have two accounts affected, and the first one is going to be cash, and the next one is capital. So we take a look at what happened. What happened to cash? Cash increased. When we increase cash, let's look at our rules. Increase to cash, or cash is an asset. Increase is a debit. Therefore, we would make a debit entry on the left side, or the debit side of the account, of $30,000. Go ahead and put a dollar sign on there. But remember, anytime we make a debit entry, we have to make a credit entry. And so we already know from this previous transaction that to increase capital, we are going to do that with, let's go look at our rule. Our rule is increase with a credit. And so we're going to take that, and I'm just going to copy that, Control C there. So we need to make that credit entry there. And that is double entry accounting. A debit of $30,000, a credit of $30,000, and the accounting equation remains in balance. Let's go see if we have a liability transaction over here somewhere. There's one right there. Let's see what that was. Wyatt bought a set of office furniture on account with his business credit card totaling $1,500. So on account tells us that we didn't pay for it right away, that we have a liability created here. And so when we did this, we see that we bought office furniture. So there's our asset. So let's go ahead and put that account in here. And the other account that was affected was, there it is, accounts payable, which is a liability account. Okay, office furniture is what type of an account? Is it asset, liability, or owner's equity? It is an asset. Yes, it is. And how do we increase an asset? And if you said debit, you would be correct. That's right. Right there. We increased it by $1,500, therefore we will debit the office furniture account by $1,500. So we've increased it, we debited the account, and now we need a credit. Accounts payable is a liability account. In order to increase a liability account, we have to credit the account. And so there we are. A debit to office furniture and a credit to accounts payable. And so there's a couple of transactions applying the rules of debits and credits as they apply to assets, liabilities, and owner's equity. So next up in class, we will be spending time doing a lot of practice transactions. And so in the meantime, you will want to spend some time at Quizlet practicing the rules. And so that'll be up next for you.